I want to touch on a few things here, so bear with me a little bit because it's not difficult to explain, but it might be a little time consuming. Question: why is it that we can't just print more money? The answer: people giggle and laugh. Ha ha ha! That's a stupid idea. Let me answer that question for everybody. We can just print more money. What do you think profit is? How do you think companies grow? How do you think people become billionaires? You have to print more money. So why can't we just print more money? We do. We already do. You see, in order for a business to grow, sales have to be made. When sales are made, money has to flow. How do you get money to flow? You print it. But for some weird reason, when that takes place, and rich people are hoarding all of this cash, because once again, you do not amass a fortune by giving back to the system and the people who made you rich in the first place. So when rich people start to hoard all this cash, and we already know that this happens because of a $44 billion business deal with a social media company, people before that happened always used to love to tell me how wealthy people don't have cash. Well, how was somebody going to pay $44 billion for a social media company? Well, he was going to go and borrow it from everybody else. So you mean more than one person has this type of money? Then his investors backed out and he bought it on his own anyway. And I'm wrong for calling people dumb? All right, let's go with that. So we know money can be printed. We know money is hoarded, which makes more money need to be printed. But for some weird reason, when this continuously happens, not one peep about inflation. Nope. A pandemic takes place, and you all need the government to do what the government is supposed to do, which is help you out during your time of need. Inflation. So when the poorer side of society makes a little bit more money, money needs to be printed. Inflation. But when the wealthy constantly keep making money, no inflation. Yeah, okay. Is there a question as to why the income gap in this world is as big as it is? Why the wealth gap is as big as it is? Which brings me to the second thing that I keep hearing people say for some oddball reason. Now, I've done real estate to death. I've explained real estate. I don't even know how many more ways to talk about real estate. But this one was an interesting one because I keep hearing people say how in Africa they don't have property tax. Okay, first off, Africa is a continent with 54 different countries, 54 different governments, 54 different sets of laws. But I will admit that there are countries in this world that they don't have property tax. And all you have to do is a little bit of reading, and you will learn why. Some of these places are small Caribbean islands with very little population and don't generate that much revenue except in tourism dollars. So they don't have property tax because they're looking to entice and draw in investors to bring their money in. There are other countries whose governments are, for lack of a better term, very shaky. If you don't know what that means, you don't know what that means. If you know what that means, congratulations, you understand why there's no property tax there. And the other scenario would be countries where the government runs everything anyway. and they would make a lot of their revenue from, say, oil. So they don't charge property tax. But what you don't seem to understand is that all of these places have one thing in common, and this is why a little bit of reading and research would come in handy, because once you started to read and research on their slums, you would understand that the same way in America, real estate divides the wealthy from the poor, it does it in these places also where there's no property tax. Now, I was shocked to find out that even in these places where you don't have to pay property tax, you can still lose your property, which makes very little sense. But again, how do you separate the rich from the poor? So, in America, we pay property tax, and you can put aside all the things that the property tax does pay for. Believe it or not, that's what keeps some of your neighborhoods very, very nice. But put that aside for a second. If we didn't have property tax and people could own property free and clear without ever paying on it again, wealthy people would buy up everything, and America would have slums the way they do in other countries. And again, you can research this yourself. It's not that hard to find because it's not a secret. Now, some people are going to go, well, we have horrible neighborhoods in America. Yeah, nothing like what's around the world, though. There's a reason why I'm using the term slums for the rest of the world. Because calling them the hood or the projects or the ghetto doesn't fit. They're slums. It's in some places, I'm sure you've seen pictures. If you even come across a documentary, I'm sure you've seen videos and pictures. It's literally the gutter. So please understand, as I have explained property and real estate and ownership and the taxes, and I've done all of that already. I've explained it all already. It's a system that works better than other systems. Now, whenever I do these videos, it's not because I hate the system. It's because I see that the system can work for everybody. It just needs a little tweaking. And that's not just with real estate, that's with the economy in general. That's the reason I started doing these videos. Because I wanted to see if everybody else saw the same thing. And apparently, some of you don't, and some of you think you do, but you end up running off with your conspiracy theories, which is why you can't end up explaining it properly. Which is why you believe that the entire continent of Africa pays absolutely no property tax whatsoever anywhere. Which is not true, because some of the countries do pay property tax. Some of them pay stamp tax. Some of them pay a heavy fee when they buy or sell. They do pay in certain ways, not quite the same as America, but there is some kind of payment that goes to the government. Again, a little bit of reading would have explained all of this. That's all I want people to do. Just look things up. They're not a secret. They're not hard to find. You'll understand it.